In this series, we're going to be taking our Cayman GT4 through a series of suspension upgrades all the way to a full track car. Rather than just chucking a load of suspension upgrades on the car all at once and having it as capable as it can be in one hit, we're going to be taking a very similar route to our BMW M3 series, which is also still ongoing. What we're going to be doing is installing each upgrade one by one and data logging the difference so we can see exactly what that one upgrade makes to the chassis. Every time we add a new upgrade, the old one will remain. So we're adding to the platform every single time, raising its level as we approach the full track car. The Porsche chassis is something we are already very well accustomed to. We've got a lot of experience with the 911 chassis, which we developed excessively alongside Leighton Clark, a professional driver. And we've got a lot of experience with the Cayman chassis as well through our customers and also through our professional drivers that we use to get feedback from. So we've got a lot of development knowledge with the chassis already. We just thought it was time to get our own so that we can showcase those setups and those upgrades to you directly. We've come out to the Peak District today for a drive to get a good feeling of how this is in completely standard form out on the roads. And of course, in classic British style, it's decided to rain on us just as we start filming, but we'll have to film through. So before we dive into the suspension upgrades we're going to be doing to this Cayman GT4, we thought we'd just show you through the current spec and the one that we chose to do the upgrades with and to take on track. So we chose a 718 Cayman GT4, more for the 4-litre engine than anything else. So it's got a larger engine than the previous generation, a little bit more power at 414 horsepower, so a bit more grunt and a bit more pace out on circuit. The spec we chose has got the carbon ceramic brakes, it's got the manual gearbox, and it's got the 918 bucket seats. There were three key areas that we wanted for the car to develop forward. So the ceramic brakes out on track save a lot of braking issues. I mean, from the BMW series, you might have seen we've had nothing but braking issues with the braking package on that car. Whereas with the ceramics fitted, that removes a whole host of those issues out the box, and it's almost just ready to go on track. The 918 bucket seats, again, offer a lot more support out on track and when pushing hard in this car. When you're going through the corners, it keeps you nice and pinned into the seat. So they were a much favourable upgrade over the GT line seats, which are quite soft and you can fall out of them quite easy through the corners. And finally, the manual gearbox. That was something I personally really wanted, and it's something we like a lot at Spencer Secrets, is the feel and the engagement that the drive gives you. And with the PDK, it's much better out on track in terms of speed of gear change, but for that feel of the drive, and especially on the road when you're driving hard, it's nice to have that engagement through the gear stick. And obviously this car comes with a auto blip setting, so it rev matches on downshift, so you can be a little lazy if you don't know how to heel and toe. It does that for you, so you don't have to focus too hard on your feet and your footwork when driving hard, especially on the road when you're thinking about going around the corner and avoiding potholes, for example. You can keep your attention elsewhere and let the auto blip take care of the rev matching for you, which is quite nice. So that's the spec we've gone for with the ceramics, the manual gearbox and the bucket seats, and we're really pleased with this car as a whole. So that's the platform we're working with, and we're going to be applying our upgrades to this car. Initial impressions of the car in its standard form are very impressive. So especially on the road, it feels really nice, really tight and very, very balanced. The steering has a lot of precision in it and it feels very pointy and direct. So a really nice basis for what we're going to do to it. But I'd say the biggest holdback and the most obvious holdback at the minute is the front end. It does lack front end. So especially in the mid corner, you do feel that front end just trying to push, and it removes a lot of confidence from the drive in itself because it can come quite quickly, and as you're dialing the lock in, it just scrubs the nose. So if you're going a bit too quick around the corner, there's no confidence that the nose is going to be there to hook you back in. So you do end up backing off quite a lot when driving out on the road, just because you can't quite trust or feel the front end as much as you'd like to. So initial impressions are that we need more front end. So that will be one of the first things we're going to address when we head over to track and start applying our setup changes. But that's just our initial feedback from the drive this morning. The main car we have to compare this to is our M3 project. And we took that car as soon as we got it to Donington for an evening session the week of getting the M3, and we did exactly the same thing with this car. We went straight out to an evening session at Donington, and it was actually very similar weather between the two. This car is also on the Michelin PS4S tyre, as the BMW was at that point in time, and out the box, this car feels much more at home on track than the M3. The M3 you can feel the weight, you can feel the lack of camber, and it just feels heavy and quite cumbersome to get around the circuit, whereas this car, out the box, feels like it should be on the circuit. That said, the tyres are saying the opposite. So straight away, after just 3 sessions around Donington, so under 20 laps in total, the outside edges of the brand new tyres were completely destroyed and blistered. So we can show you a close-up of the actual current state of the outside edge of these tyres, and that is after just 3 sessions on track. They'd overheated and blistered, showing already out the box that the front end isn't set up properly to go on track or drive hard, because it just uses the outside edge too quickly. So ultimately, we need to get more camber on that front axle as soon as possible to keep driving this car hard. Even though we were getting that push understeer due to that front tyre scrubbing, through Craners, which is a very fast section at Donington, and it's known for being sort of the corner to get the speed through, because it's a fast corner, but it's also quite sketchy on the limit. So to go fast through it requires a lot of confidence in the car, and a good car as well. And side by side with the M3 in standard form and the Porsche in standard form, the Porsche was a lot faster through Craners than the BM. So we can show you on the screen an overlay of the two onboards where you can see the speeds, and we'll put the speeds up on the screen of the actual apex speed carried through Craners. And that shows a really big difference in the two platforms and the capability difference out the box. So we're really excited to get stuck into this and get modifying so we can start removing these niggles that we're finding. The first stage of the modifications is going to be a full suspension setup. So we're going to go to track. We're going to keep it as it is right now, as we've bought it, totally standard geometry, totally standard form. We're going to go to track, do some sessions on that setup. We're going to bring our Motorsport flat patch with us, and we're going to then give the car our full fast road suspension setup, where we get as much camber and toe and ride height and rake angle out of this as possible, because the GT4 as standard is very, very adjustable. It's got adjustable camber front and rear, adjustable toe front and rear, adjustable anti-roll bars front and rear, which is usually reserved for race cars, and adjustable ride height front and rear, because they've got a coilover unit as standard. So a heck of a lot of adjustment for a standard road car, which is really cool and something we really like working with on the Porsche GT cars. So on the first session, we're going to get this set up as well as we can using standard componentry. After that point, we're going to start moving into upgrades. So we've got a lot of experience with this chassis, so we already know what's going to come up in the future, but we just want to get there ourselves and show you guys the actual downfalls of the chassis as we progress in pace and speed. But we know that the rear end is going to be the next thing holding us up when we've set the car up, because there isn't enough adjustment in terms of toe and camber at the back, similar to the BM in a way, how past a certain point of camber, you can't get toe in anymore because the adjustment range just isn't there. So we're going to be installing our rear toe arms at that point to increase the rear grip and get more camber at the back and get the toe in that we desire. And then we know at that point that when we get the rear sorted, the front's going to be lacking with the standard range of adjustment again. So at that point, we're going to move to our top mounts. From that point forward, we're going to be looking into more serious upgrades into our circuit handling pack and beyond from that point. So we'll get into that when we get further down the line in the series and we approach that stage. But that's the first few sets of upgrades we're going to be applying, because we know for a fact that this chassis requires those bits to really get it working on track. To conclude, we've got a load of exciting upgrades coming for the Porsche over the next few episodes. Don't worry though, the BMW series is still ongoing and will be running alongside the Porsche series. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those videos as well. And we'll see you next time out on track.